All right, with me today, I have the second highest grossing MadLab coach in the world. Number one outside my gym. But if we started doing taxes and then we started doing maybe some conversion rates, you might be number one. So I don't want to break the thumb just yet. I'm going to bring him on next week. Chris is from 7 Mile in the Grand Cayman. Tell us a bit about yourself, buddy, and this whole journey.
Yeah, man, I'm the head coach at 7 Mile Strength and Fitness, the home CrossFit 7 Mile here in Grand Cayman. My journey started a long time ago. I was a baseball player that figured I was going to be one of the 0.5% that was going to make it to the big leagues. My whole kind of identity was wrapped up in that. And I knew I was going to be a big leaguer and make millions of dollars. And then throughout my career, an elbow surgery and a shoulder surgery derailed that. During that time, I didn't really know what to do with myself because I didn't have any other. I had an option A. There was no option B. So after that, I proceeded to go into a pretty dark place. I didn't really know it at the time, but I was depressed. I used to hide from my family and friends at times. I used to drink pretty often. I went from a playing weight of 205 pounds to 200. And last time I got on the scale was 275, but it was at least 285. And it was just a real rough time in my life. I started working jobs that I hated doing for money that wasn't going to pay the bills for a long time. And I remember sitting on my bed one morning, hungover, about to go into work, getting dressed. I looked in the mirror and I said, "This is the next 40 years of your life." And I don't know if I've ever been more sad in my whole life than at that moment. And kept working. And a friend of mine saw me, or my old strength and conditioning coach from my university, saw me at an Outback Steakhouse. I was outside smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, and he walked by and didn't even notice who I was. I reached out and I was like, "Hey, Paul." And he kind of looked at me for a second and he was like, "Spigner?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we started chatting and he said, I've opened up this thing called CrossFit. Have you heard of it? I'll give you a month for free if you come in. And I said, okay. I just thought he was trying to get extra people in the gym as I knew a bunch of people around town. Come to find out, he was offering me a handout to see if I actually wanted to change my situation. Went in, I got absolutely embarrassed. 3 years before this, I'd been a professional athlete. Now I couldn't run. I couldn't do a push-up. I couldn't do a pull-up. I left and I said I would never go back again. And nobody's going to pay for that, to be embarrassed and feel like that. And after about a week, I walked back in the gym, tail between my legs, and they took me in and they taught me how to eat. They supported me through the embarrassing times and the times I wanted to quit. And I started to learn. There was a girl named Bobby who was actually the manager of the gym. And the way she coached people was hard but fair. And she took her time after classes to explain why she was doing X, Y, and Z. She spent extra time with people. And I started to realize that I just wanted to spend time around her and what she was doing and see if I could do the things she did, because it made me feel good to see that. And I hadn't felt good in a long time. So I asked her if I could just shadow her. So I would go to work from 9 to 5, or when I was working shift work, 12 to 12, whatever it was. And I came back and I would work and just kind of follow her around. And I started to really want to coach. I enjoyed the way it made me feel. I enjoyed seeing other people's expressions change, their first pull-up. Oh, I've lost 10 pounds. I loved all that stuff. And I started to learn that I had a passion for it. I'd be at work reading about coaching or nutrition or strength, not doing my real job. And I realized this is something that I wanted to do. And I basically went from my job and I either worked at her gym or I worked at the gym that I originally went to. And I did that for a while. And she was like, "You have to go get certified if you want to coach, if you want to make this a thing." So I went and got level 1 certified and I started coaching at the gym. And
what year was that?
That was 2009. Yeah. 2009, 10, right in that area.
Should I bring up the graphs now? Or
Yeah, so I ended up moving to Grand Cayman because Bobby actually got me a job here. They were opening, Carl and Wanda and Donna and John and now my wife were opening a gym, and Wanda was going to be the head coach, and she got pregnant. So they needed somebody to help them open this gym. So they got in touch with Bobby, who had done the level 1 certification with them. And she called me and said, I think I've got an opportunity for you if you want to move. And I was like, well, where do I have to move to? She made it sound like I was going to Siberia or something. And then she's like, you got to go to Grand Cayman. And I was like, I don't even know where the hell that is. But
where were you at the time? Were you in South Carolina at the time?
I was in South Carolina at the time. I knew it was in the Caribbean, had no idea where in the Caribbean it was. And I jumped on a phone call with the owners of 7 Mile, and we had a conversation. And a month from that day that we had that conversation, I had sold my truck. I had moved my younger brother into my house that I had in South Carolina, and I moved down here on a 6-month contract that with knowing nobody. And I figured, well, there's my opportunity. I can go make something out of nothing. If it doesn't work out, I just come home and start doing the same shit I was doing anyway. And so I got on the plane, and that was 9 years ago, 6 days ago.
So it was 2010?
Yeah. December of 2010, I got here.
And that was Carl and Wanda, Carl Breton, good buddy, shout out to Carl. And then Donna and her husband and partner too? Is it just Donna? Yeah.
Yeah, Carl and Wanda. Then you have John and Donna, and then
Donna. Sorry,
Jen.
John.
And then Jen, my wife. Now.
Cool. Okay, so you sounds like that's a big turnaround in 1 year. A big shake up in your life.
Yeah, it was a monster.
All right, so take me through this graph. Take me through your life and graph it out. Can you see this thing?
Yeah. So basically, when I got here, we were doing the usual system. I coached every single class for 8 months straight when I first got here, 5:30 in the morning to 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Every single class, I was making probably about $30,000 a year, or grossing about 30,000, somewhere around there. I'm not really sure. It wasn't much, but it was more than what I was making back home, or equal to what I was making back home without the tax. So I was also in a nice Caribbean island, so that was a big sell. As the years went on, I started to add in a little bit of personal training. So I started to have a little bit better years, but I still wasn't bringing in a whole lot. The gym was doing decent. But as you can see on the graph, from like 2010 to 2014, I made a little bit more money, but we were churning people. And at a certain point, we realized if we keep this growth up along with the people we're losing, there was going to be a point where no matter what we did, it was never going to grow. And it also was pointed out to me that, and me and Carl sat down about it, it was like, I'd had my best year, which still wasn't grossing a lot, and the gym had its worst year. And that wasn't going to work for either one of us. Either it wasn't going to have a place to work, or we needed to adjust some things. And that's when we made a change.
Just to clarify this graph, this is gross revenue. This is a rough estimation. It's hard to really figure out what you're really generating.
Yes.
So for the people listening, the classic system that's used in functional fitness, CrossFit, Pilates, yoga, all these functional fitness gyms, they're all kind of the same. I think in the functional fitness world, CrossFit world, there's a little bit more of a fundamentals program, but mostly the coaches are paid by the class, and they're paid a percentage of personal training. And there's just a ceiling on that. And the more that you pay the coach, the less that the gym makes, and it's really, you're not really incented to do the things to grow the business.
And it didn't matter. We kind of got to the point of, well, if the gym gets 50 more people, I'm still making my same salary. If the gym loses 50 people, I'm still making my same salary. So there wasn't that incentive to do a lot better, as you're saying.
So one of the great things, and one of the reasons why you guys have managed to do so well back in these days, because all we had figured out really were the 8 laws then. We had no way of teaching anybody anything, you know what I mean? And then we finally came out with our thing, a PCDP 1.0, which was online and kind of, so up to this point now, 2015, you started making the switch towards MadLab, I think, right?
Yep. That was when I'd had my best year and the gym had its worst. And me and Carl sat in the gym for an hour or two and had a discussion about it. And I didn't see how it was going to work. And Carl laid the numbers out for me about where we were going. So we agreed and we went after it. And in that first year, I had a little bit of a dip in what I made and the gross revenue just for that first year as we were sorting everything out.
And what were the changes like? What were the changes that really made, and what were the changes in the mental attitude and how you were compensated, and your ability to go do the job and for the gym to succeed? Like maybe just talk a little bit about how that actually went down.
Yeah, I remember our introduction was a group introduction. Hey, this is CrossFit. Hey, this is how I got here. We're going to put you through a workout. Did you like that? Would you like to come back? Originally, it was we put you in the class and we'll have a coach with you, an assistant coach with you. Then we smartened up from that and had a group on-ramp class. And then that was all before the MadLab system. What we found was you'd spend all this time with somebody and 3 months later they would be gone. So it didn't really keep anybody around. So it became very frustrating as a coach because you're not being able to take care of the people who've been there, and you're also not being able to keep the people who are coming in. But in this approach, we changed our onboarding process to a one-on-one consultation with the client. It was an hour long. And then at the end, we went from it being a free consultation to us telling them for your personal training that you're going to need to pay us $899. And I won't forget the first day that I did that, when I had no idea what this guy was going to say. The whole time, I don't even remember a whole lot about what he said, because I knew in this packet there was a price sheet. And we finished this 45-minute talk, and I handed in the price sheet. He looked up at me and he was like, "Do you take checks or card?" And I remember my hand was kind of shaking almost when I handed it to him. And after that, I realized that if it's valuable to somebody, it's valuable to somebody. And those are the people we want to go after. On the second hand of that is I had to become a much better coach. I had to be able to deliver that service to the client that was worth the price he was paying. A lot less working out for 3 or 4 hours a day, and a lot more figuring out how to have relationships with the clients. And from that process, I knew the names of their kids. I knew when their birth dates were. We actually had a relationship outside of the gym. If they didn't come to the gym, I knew when they were there, when they weren't. And it's been a huge boost to be able to have that personal connection, instead of people just leaving at the end. They'll actually come up and be like, "Look, I can't do this for X, Y, and Z." We have a conversation about it, and we part amicably, or we find a way to make it work for them. But the relationship side is such a motivating factor, because there's invested care from both people.
Back in the day, before, when you're getting paid by the class in the hour, do you really, maybe you didn't calculate the churn rate, but you're observing this churn, which is really hard emotionally when you lose people. That's the hardest part. But over the course of a year, if you had someone start, how many people would be gone at the end of that year, you figure?
Oh goodness. I think the last year before we started, I want to say we were close to bringing in 200 people, somewhere close to that number. And I think we ended up with like 20 more people.
Right.
Like for the churn rate from the people leaving that were already there and the people that started and stopped. I think it was somewhere around there. It was an insane number when Carl pulled that out.
Yeah, it's like 70 to 80%.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. And then you start seeing how much time you're putting into something that might barely scrape by. You're going to have one of these people in a group that's going to be there in 6 months. And that becomes really frustrating.
Yeah. Your compensation doesn't change at all if they stay or not. There's no real incentive there.
Absolutely.
So now, okay, let's getting into 2000. 17, we see a dramatic rise in your gross revenue you generate for the gym.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, you've already touched on it, but the churn rate, what happens to the people you're training?
Yeah, so we have to go through the growing pains of getting the systems in place, getting the legacy clients to buy in or buy out, whatever they're going to do. But everything started to click. We also, the sales portion of having the process in place, knowing what to say to the client, and knowing if it's a value to the client. There were some people that were coming in and it wasn't going to be valuable to them. So we actually said no. And that was something that was pretty empowering, is that I didn't have to take every single client if I didn't think it was going to be a right fit for them. We never really had that option before. The churn went way down. I had a group of clients that were staying around. They were enjoying what was happening. My personal training, the people that were coming in were mandatory to do personal training. And slowly but surely, almost everybody who was already in the gym, our legacy clients, started adding the personal training in once they saw the newer people coming in and getting it. They also wanted to do the same. So that kept client retention high. It added more to the revenue of the gym, and everything just kind of built, kind of snowballed off of that.
So we went from 2016 grossing about 60K to the gym until all of a sudden we're grossing like 140 plus.
Yeah.
So you're doing lots of personal training for the fundamentals. You probably did the Greg Mack, the Rainmaker sales training probably somewhere in that time.
I want to say it was right in 2017. I think it's right about this time that we did that sales training course. And that increased my confidence, the staff's confidence, to be able to have these conversations, know how to have the conversations, and actually figure out what people wanted out of being at the gym. That made it so much easier. It took all the pressure off of feeling like you're selling somebody something. All you're trying to do is figure out, is this the next step? Is it viable for you? Is it viable for me? And then going to the next step. So I can't say enough about the Greg Mack course. That was a huge help for me.
It was a huge help for our facility too. I mean, Tom, we paid him $111,000 last year. I think he grossed around 260, something like that, maybe 280. It was crazy. He was limping along at like generating 4,000 or 5,000 gross a month for like a long time. I want to say 2 years. Then he took that training and he argued with Greg the whole time. And then some light bulb came on. He's like, oh, fuck, I'm not lying to anybody. I'm not stealing from anybody. I'm not,
yes.
You know what I mean? There's an understanding of the truth, and what you're really doing there is LifeSpring of life itself. You know, it's a wellspring of life itself. And you're giving a great gift to the world. And I don't know, something snapped in his, I mean, for every one of us, something different happens in that course, but somehow you get real comfortable with what you're doing.
Absolutely. And once you do it a few times, it becomes a conversation. It's not you're trying to do anything. It's just having a conversation with a human.
You're trying not to get their business.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I want to work with you, dude. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. 2017, 2018, we're honing the game. Starting to generate over 160, 170 for the gym. Now, like for you guys listening at home, like, that's more than most CrossFit gyms do in a year. More than half, like I'd say half of them run under 10,000 a month in gross revenue that I've seen, that I run into. There's lots that are higher. I'd say the median's under 12, under 20. Like most, I would say 80% of CrossFit gyms are doing less than 20,000 a year, from what I can see. And functional fitness gyms and studios, like it's pretty incredible to have one guy bringing in that much, right?
Yeah.
And what was your life looking like? How many hours a week you working in personal training and group, and what is that really starting to look like?
So at this point, I actually had to kind of reel in how much personal training I was doing. I actually wasn't, I actually had a moment, probably a 2 or 3 month span, where I was only coaching 1 to 2 classes a week, because the rest of it was PT for my clients, my non-member clients as well. But I realized that I wasn't actually in the gym with the majority of my clients, seeing them in a class and being able to coach them. So we went to where you have to coach a minimum of 5 to 7 classes a week. And then everything outside of that is your personal training. I was working 25 28 hours a week, somewhere around there, depending on. And life was good, man. I felt really good. I felt really strong about the tribe that I had. I felt like I was on top of things. And the other huge part with this is I was able to slowly continue to grow because of our general manager, Donna, is extremely helpful. Carl, they always have our owners have a lot vested in us, and they always try their best to put us in the right situations and help us when I'd get underwater a little bit. They were always there they were always there to take care of us and show us some support. I was also able to go out and start a few specialty classes at this time. We did a bunch of extra things that came in. We started a few different programs that allowed me to make a little bit more money off of these than I would the normal split. And they were open to that. So our ownership is always available to have conversations with, bring something to them. They'll see if it works. We'll sit down and talk about it. And having that support during this time as everything's starting to grow is huge. It makes life much easier. And then the second part was I stopped taking incoming leads, and I only worked from referrals. That was huge.
That's the sign of the true professional coach. Tom did that, cut off. He wouldn't take anybody off the website or anybody that wasn't going to pay him the full percentage. So for anybody who doesn't know our system, we pay a percentage on gross revenue no matter what they're doing. It could be a group class, could be personal training, could be, fundamentals program, could be a specialty program. They all have different percentages that make sense. And who brought in the client is a very important thing. If you're bringing in business, you need to be compensated for that. So that's the highest level, right? So when the guys get to a level where they don't need any help from the gym anymore, it's a truly fucking awesome thing. Just you're such a good coach that you're going to get so many referrals that you would never take anybody at the lower percentage, which is someone's had to come and give you something, Right. So that's what's starting to happen here in 2018. When we get to 1920, I bet you probably haven't taken a lead from anybody else in years now, right?
No, I haven't taken a lead from anybody. When we have those conversations now, if people aren't 100% bought in when we're first sitting there having that conversation, I'm pretty upfront about it. I only take people who you've been referred to me. You obviously know how I work with whoever referred you. And if this isn't something you're interested in being a part of 5 years, 10 years from now, it's probably best we don't work together and just kind of set it out up front. So there's kind of an expectation.
Now, you've also been working with my buddy, Dr. Sean here, Pastuch. I never know how to quite pronounce his last name.
Sean Pastuch.
Pastuch. He's a character. I like him. With Active Life. So There seems to be a nice little mesh there with Active Life and MadLab happening. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because you're probably the most experienced guy in this.
The MadLab and Active Life together with the systems for each one is been huge for my business, especially over the past 18 months. It started about 3 years ago, but being able to actually implement everything, getting the system in place at the gym, it's been huge. With the Active Life, I'm able to keep our clients in the gym that get frustrated by having injuries that just would normally stop. I've had a couple of those that we've been able to save. I've been able to create an outside business, so I don't have to be, there's only X amount of hours, and I'm getting to the point where I don't have any more hours to give. And after having, a little one, I don't really know if I'm not going to work any more hours. So I'm trying to set my schedule. And what the Active Life allows us to do is be able to reach out to these people, other people in the community as well, that may not even do high intensity functional fitness, whatever. And I don't have to be there. So I can do this as an online portion with some personal training up front, and it creates another revenue stream without having to make more hours in the gym. I can do a lot of it from my computer as well. Again, that started 3 years ago by going to the assessment course and then doing the coach immersion program. But with the combination of again, like I said, the processes of MadLab, the sales course, and then the way Active Life kind of professionalizes you, gives you this other option. It just kind of waterfalls into one another. And if you can put them together, it's just a recipe for success. I mean, being able to go out and talk to chiropractors and physiotherapists. I have a group of them that I work with, and we refer each other business, not like a referral, they get money and I get money. We just refer each other business and see if we can help. I have clients that I send to that I get an email report from a physiotherapist about what they think we should and shouldn't do. And we work together on it. So there's always this kind of growing little network that's starting to happen from this. And it's allowing me to, I'm probably not going to be taking any more leads to come into the gym for a while, and be able to kind of grow this part of the business, so I can keep my lifestyle outside of the gym sane as well. But they have to be done. If you're a coach, you got to be doing both of these things.
Yeah, we've had Tom's done it in our gym. I think I'm going to get, we've had our apprentices do the workshop. I think Chelsea's done the workshop. I think I'm going to get all the boys in here, especially my old dogs like T-Bear and Sheppy. You know, T-Bear's going to his 15th season. I think Sheppy's on 12 or 13. They could
Awesome.
use, it's just more ammunition in your toolkit as well to be a really great technical coach, right?
100%.
And then combined with the economics of MadLab, and bang, you got something really powerful.
It's phenomenal. The two are both have pretty good leaders too.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I'm working on myself. Yeah, my fitness has come last the last 3 years, and I'm getting to the point where it's going to come first again. Come down there and rock out the 7 Mile beach, baby.
Hell yeah. It's going to be, can't wait.
There's a beach on 7 Mile, isn't there?
Oh yeah. It's the most beautiful beach you've ever seen.
I've heard. So now we're wrapping up the end of 2019, going into 2020. What's the future here for Chris? What does your days look like? I know you told me you just got 6 new clients, like bang, just right now, and you hardly have any room or space. And you're booked out for the next 3 months, is what you mentioned before we got on here. I mean, any coach listening, wouldn't that be great? And you're generating over $200,000 for the gym.
Yeah. The idea now is write down the goals, make sure the quality of life stays high as well. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot of hours to make this work, which is why I'm booked out into March, and I'm going on vacation here in a week. And I need it, and it's going to be good to refresh and reboot, but I want to set up a way in the future where I can keep gross revenue at a comfortable pace for the gym and myself, and also be able to live the life I want to live with a newborn and my wife. So I can't be happier with what I've been able to grow to and think about what I can do. But now we've got to find that sliding scale of how much do I want to do, how much do I want to make, and find out what that place is to just live the life I want. So
you've just bought a new house. You got a baby, you got a newborn. Well, your baby's what, 2 months old?
5 months old.
5 months old. And things aren't cheap down there. So, I mean.
Maybe I should never quit working.
I'm going to figure out the next level with you and Carl. There's a whole other level there for you to be the mentor inside the place and get, there's a next level MadLab thing I'm working on with Tom, which is you get a kicker that goes on forever. Anyway, we can talk about that later, but I guess the point I want to make is my dream for the fitness industry has been they can work in it forever, 30 years. They can own a home, raise a family, retire by being a fitness professional. It's never been done before. You look like you're 10 years in. How are you feeling? Can you do it for another 20?
Absolutely. You just got to set the processes up and make sure you're staying on top of your game and deliver a quality product, especially on the relationship side. And man, I love what I do. I love what I do. Everybody needs a break from everything, but man, I love what I do. And the opportunities that have been afforded me by the MadLab group, by Active Life, by my owners and general managers, and the people that I now get to work with. So I've been very lucky. I've worked very hard, but I've been very lucky, and I'm excited to continue this ride.
Oh man, that's beautiful. That warms my heart. There was a time there when we didn't have a lot of support from MadLab group. We didn't have the mentors, and you followed the system with good mentors in your own, and thank my lucky stars that people like you and Carl came along and showed the world that it's not just in Vancouver, that can be done outside of Vancouver. And, you know, we faced a lot of criticism over the years for saying the things we say. And it's just honesty and hard work, really. I mean, with some smart economics, you know, and then,
Absolutely.
Hey man, I want to thank you, especially. You've done nothing but try to help me every step of the way since you've become successful, and you've been a really shining light in our whole universe. And I appreciate you, man. I love you. I
appreciate you too, Patty. I wouldn't be here without you, brother.
Thanks, man. It warms my heart. So, okay. Coming to Grand Cayman. I got to go by Florida. I think what are the flights? Usually it's Miami. Is it the only?
Yeah. You come when you go to Toronto, and then Toronto has a straight flight here if you go that way.
Too. Yeah, I got to stop in Florida though. I got to see my boy Mike Manning. He's now my charge of my marketing and sales.
Yeah, they got him from Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
You got Fort Lauderdale too. Okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. That's a little easier. All right, brother. You have a Merry Christmas.
You too, brother.
And give Donna and Carl a little shout out for me there. And we'll probably put this out in the new year or whatever. So
sounds good, my man. Happy holidays, Patty.
Thanks again, brother.
You're welcome.
Love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.